I'm Alex Cardinale, and you're watching a Alex Cardinale Entertainment production right here on the Alex Cardinale Entertainment YouTube channel. Enjoy the show.
Several murder cases often occur in several parts of the world. It is very difficult to reveal this case. An investigation needs to be carried out by the police. The investigation will be carried out by police officers. The evidence will be analyzed by a team from the forensic laboratory. And the results of the examination from the forensic laboratory will be given to detectives to be developed into information. The results of the analysis will be used to create an investigation report anatomic of crime. The report will be adjusted according to witness statements and indicative evidence.
Unlock the mysteries with Detective Alex Cardinale. Hey fellow detectives and crime junkies, welcome to On the Case with Detective Alex Cardinale. Get ready to dive into a world of crime and mystery. Join Detective Cardinale as he explores crimes of all kinds, from rapes and murders to robberies and more. Ever wonder what crimes took place 10 to 20 years ago? What can we learn from these past enigmas? Tune in right now to find out. Why watch? Engaging analysis. Detective Cardinale brings his expert insights and captivating storytelling to unravel some of the most perplexing cases. Educational insights. Learn about investigative techniques and the intricacies of solving crimes. Historical perspective. Discover how past crimes have shaped current law enforcement practices. Remember, keeping our communities safe starts with you. If you see something suspicious, don't hesitate to report it by calling 911. Remember, if you see something, say something. Let's welcome our host from Port St. Lucie, Florida, Detective Alex Cardinale, as he takes you on a thrilling journey into the heart of the criminal world. Don't miss out on this captivating experience. Tune in now and be part of the adventure.
Hello, crime junkies. Welcome to On the Case. I'm Detective Alex Cardinale, and tonight I am talking about one of the worst and probably most sinister serial killers in American history. Tonight I am talking about a serial killer by the name of Times Square Ripper and Torso Killer. Tonight we are talking about Richard Cottingham. Now, Richard Cottingham is suspected of killing hundreds of women from the 1960s to the 1980s. His most infamous murders have occurred in Times Square, where he has earned the nickname Times Square Ripper. Now, he earned the nickname Torso Killer from doing torso cuts and decapitations, etc. So tonight on the Case, I'm going to give you all the information you need to know on Richard Cottingham, one of the sickest serial killers in American history. I'm going to tell you about his crimes, his convictions, his sentencing, and more. As always, I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoy the show. And if you do enjoy the show, please smash that like button and smash that subscribe button to be notified when I do more crime videos. All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. And we're going to start with the introduction to America's prolific and one of America's worst serial killers, Richard Cottingham. Who is Richard Cottingham? Well, Richard Cottingham is an American serial killer known as the Torso Killer and the Times Square Ripper, who committed a series of brutal murders and sexual assaults in New York and New Jersey between 1965 and 1980. Overview of crimes, convictions, and confessions. He was initially apprehended in May of 1980 after a survivor's screams alerted motel staff in New Jersey. While first convicted for 5 murders in the 1980s, he has since been definitively linked to 19 murders, including several cold case confessions made as recently as 2025 and 2026. Total victim count. Cottingham has claimed responsibility for 85 to 100 murders, though investigators believe this number may be inflated. Modus operandi. His nicknames derived from his practice of dismembering and decapitating victims to prevent identification. He frequently targeted young women and girls, often luring them to motels where he would bind, torture, and strangle or drown them. Recent developments 2022 to 2026. As Richard Cottingham approaches his 80s, he has provided details to close several long standing cold cases. Alice Eberhardt, 1965. In December of 2025, Cottingham confessed to the 1965 murder of 18-year-old Alice Eberhardt in New Jersey. This is considered one of his earliest crimes. Long Island slayings. In December 2022, he pleaded guilty to the 1968 murder of Diane Cusick and admitted to killing 4 other women in Nassau County between 1972 and 1973. Somerset County reopening. In September 2025, authorities reopened 3 cold cases from the 1960s and 70s based on Richard Cottingham being a prime suspect. For years, Richard Cottingham lived a double life. He was a married father of 3 who worked as a computer operator at Blue Cross Blue Shield in Manhattan. Now, here's a very interesting fact. Notably, he worked in the same office as fellow serial killer Rodney Acala, the dating game killer, though neither were aware of the other's crime at the time. Cottingham is currently 79 years old and he remains incarcerated at Southwood State Prison in Bridgeton, New Jersey. He is serving multiple life sentences totaling over 200 years and is reportedly housed in a prison hospital's palliative care unit due to declining health. And that is who Richard Cottingham is. Richard Cottingham is the Times Square Reaper and the Torso Killer. And now we're going to talk about the breakdown of Richard Cottingham's murders. We're going to discuss Richard Cottingham's murders right now. Breakdown of Cottingham's murders. Richard Cottingham has been definitively linked to 20 murders. While he was initially convicted for 5 murders in the early 1980s, he has since confessed to 15 additional cold cases. He claims to have killed between 85 and 100 women in total. Chronology of confirmed victims. Here is a chronology of confirmed victims. 1965, Alice Jean Eberhardt, 18. She was from Fair Lawn, New Jersey when she was killed. 1967, Mary Ann Della Sala, she was 17. She was from Bergen County, New Jersey. 1967, Nancy Vogel. She was 29 years old from Little Ferry, New Jersey. 1968, Diane Kuzak was 23 from Valley Stream, New York. 1968, Jocelyn Harp, 13 years old, Midland Park, New Jersey. 1969, Irene Blass, who was 18, Hackensack, New Jersey. 1969, Denise Falska, 15 years old, Emerson, New Jersey. 1970, Lorraine McGraw, 26 years old. She was from Rockland County, New York. 1972, Mary Beth Hines. She was 21 years old when she was killed, and she was from Rockville Center, New York. 1972, Levine Malloy, 23 years old. She also was from Rockville Center, New York. 1973, Sheila Heeman, 33 years old. She was from North Woodmere, New York. 1973, Maria Rosado Neves, 18 years old, from Wantagh, New York. 1974, Lorene Kelly, 16 years old, from Mountville, New Jersey. 1974, Mary Ann Pryor was 17, also from Montville, New Jersey. 1975, Rosalie Reisberg, 26 years old, also from New York City, New York. Mary Ann Carr, 26 years old, was killed in 1977 from New Jersey. 1979, Dee Dee Godrazi, 22, from Times Square, New York. There was an unidentified female found in Times Square, New York, that was killed by Richard Cottingham in 1979. 1980, Marianne Reiner, 25 years old, was killed in New York City, New York. In 1980, Valerie Ann Street, 19 years old, in New Jersey, she was killed. So those are most of his confirmed victims. And what's sad about all these victims is that they're very young. They're as young as 13, and the oldest, believe it or not, is 33. That is horrific. Richard Cottingham was definitely a sick individual. He has been definitively linked to 20 murders, but there is possibilities of up to 100 or more. Well, coming up next, we're going to find out how Richard Cottingham killed his victims. What was the method of murder? How did Richard Cottingham kill his victims? Find out next on this episode of On the Case with me, Detective Alex Cardinale. But first, I'm inviting you to this Saturday with Alex Cardinale, our flagship program. Let's get ready for the first Saturday with Alex Cardinale of March. March 7th, 2026 at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. It's an all-new episode of Saturday with Alex Cardinale, featuring an all-new segment. Blackwater Creek Koi Farms proudly presents Featured Koi starting on March 7th. Plus, the animal of the world will be the anteater. Aqua Alex's featured fish will be the Dojo Loach and the Atlantic Tarpon. There will be a Seagrass Farm featured fish. Play 3 rounds of Two Truth and a Lie. Play Dunkin' Donuts, Wendy's, and Burger King, Two Truth and a Lie. The countdown to WrestleMania 42 continues as we look back at Batista versus Undertaker from WrestleMania 23. All that and more live this Saturday, March 7th, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, right here on the Alex Cardinale Entertainment YouTube channel, ACE. Well, 3 weeks from today and 3 weeks from tomorrow, we will be celebrating 12 years on my YouTube channel. Can you believe I've been on YouTube for 12 years? And it's going to be an awesome celebration, celebrating 12 years, 3 weeks from tomorrow, and 3 weeks from today. We'll be celebrating our 12-year YouTube anniversary. Here are the main events for these amazing shows.
Celebrate 12 years of Aqua Alex Cardinale on YouTube with the 12th YouTube Splash. Join us in celebrating a milestone as Aqua Alex Cardinale marks 12 incredible years on YouTube with the 12th annual YouTube Splash. This spectacular event will air on Thursday, March 26th, and Friday, March 27th, at 10 p.m. Eastern Time / 7 p.m. Pacific Time on the Alex Cardinale Entertainment Channel. This year, Aqua Alex Cardinale brings dreams to life with 2 epic main events that promise to captivate audiences and showcase his passion for aquatic life. Night 1. Main event, Aqua Alex reveals his koi pond. Thursday, March 26th, 10 p.m. Eastern Time / 7 p.m. Pacific Time, witness the culmination of a lifelong dream as Aqua Alex unveils his stunning koi pond. Join him on a journey that highlights the dedication and love poured into creating a vibrant aquatic habitat filled with magnificent koi fish. This event is not just a reveal, but a testament to Aqua Alex's unwavering commitment to his craft and his audience. Night 2. Main event. Sit-down interview with Paul Cafaro, Friday, March 27th, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time / 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Concluding the celebration, Aqua Alex Cardinale sits down with renowned YouTuber Paul Cafaro for an exclusive interview. Gain insights into the world of aquatic enthusiasts as these 2 passionate creators discuss their experiences, inspirations, and future projects. This engaging conversation is set to be a highlight of the YouTube Splash extravaganza. Don't miss these 2 main events, along with a host of other surprises and entertainment coming your way during this 2-night celebration. Join us in commemorating Aqua Alex Cardinale's journey and the vibrant community that has grown around his passion for aquatic life. Tune in to the Alex Cardinale Entertainment YouTube channel on March 26th and March 27th at 10 p.m. Eastern / 7 p.m. Pacific to be part of this unforgettable celebration.
All right, welcome back to On the Case, and tonight we're talking about the Times Square Ripper and the torso killer Richard Cottingham. And now we're going to find out how Richard Cottingham murdered his victims. So, Richard Cottingham's methods were marked by extreme sadism, ranging from calculated drugging and physical torture to post-mortem mutilation. While his techniques evolved, he consistently targeted women, often sex workers or young women at shopping malls, using various means to subdue them and eventually kill them. Primary causes of death. According to forensic data from 20 confirmed cases, his killing methods included ligature strangulation, the most common method used in 11 cases. In several instances, he used the victim's own clothing or accessories, such as a flag sling or a crucifix chain. Forcible drowning. Confessed to drowning several victims, including 2 teenage girls, in a motel bathtub in 1974. Bludgeoning. Beating victims with heavy objects or his fist, sometimes resulting in fatal skull fractures. Suffocation and stabbing. He employed in a smaller number of confirmed cases suffocation and stabbing of his murder victims. Torture and mutilation. Richard Cottingham was a lust killer. who derived pleasure from the prolonged suffering of his victims. He frequently spiked victims' drinks with sedatives like Tylenol in bars before transporting them to secluded motels. Physical abuse. Victims often showed signs of extreme physical trauma, including being bitten, beaten with objects like garden hoses, and burned with cigarettes. Psychological torture. He would sometimes place a toy gun near a bound victim, allowing them to try to grab it to only find it was a fake toy gun. Post-mortem dismemberment. He earned the torso killer nickname by decapitating victims and severing their hands to prevent identification. Ew, that is gross. He also frequently removed victims' breasts, sometimes leaving them on headboards as a signature. Disposal and cover up. Arson. In his New York City killings, he would often set the motel room and the victim's remains on fire using lighter fluid to destroy evidence. Dumping. He frequently disposed of bodies in wooded areas, rivers, or parking lots. In some cases, he left victims in their own vehicles. Richard Cottingham was a sick, disturbed man. He loved to dismember his victims when they were dead so that identification of them would be difficult, and he used various methods of killing his victims. These methods, as I mentioned, include suffocation, bludgeoning, drowning, ligature strangulation, and more. He is not your ordinary serial killer. He is a extraordinary serial killer because it's not enough to kill them. He's got to hide their identity too. So he's got to dismember them and do undespicable and disgusting things. Well, coming up next here on the Case, let's find out about his most infamous crimes, the crimes that took place in Times Square. How many killings actually occurred in Times Square for the Times Square Ripper? We'll find out coming up next. Now, up on the screen right now is a specialized QR code. If you scan that QR code, it's going to take you to my website where you can purchase merchandise for my YouTube channel, Alex Cardinale Entertainment. You can show support for the Alex Cardinale Entertainment YouTube channel by clicking that link. And here is more information on my merchandise website. All right, right now let's talk about Richard Cottingham's Times Square killings. All right, Richard Cottingham was definitively linked to 3 murders specifically committed in the Times Square area of Manhattan. These crimes, which occurred between 1979 and 1980, were characterized by extreme brutality, including dismemberment and the use of fire to destroy evidence. So far, definitively, there are 3 murders that Richard Cottingham did that occurred in Times Square. Times Square victims: 22-year-old Didi Godrezi, an Iranian immigrant and sex worker discovered on December 2nd, 1979 at the Travel Inn Motor Hotel. Manhattan Jane Doe, age range 16 to 22, an unidentified young woman found alongside Godrezi at the same hotel on December 2nd, 1979. Jean Reener, 25 years old, a sex worker found on May 15th, 1980 at the Seaville Hotel, which is now the Carlton Hotel, near the Times Square district. Context of the killings: mutilation. These specific murders earned him the Torso Killer and Times Square Ripper nicknames because he decapitated the victims and severed their hands to hinder identification. Arson. In each of these cases, Cottingham set the hotel rooms on fire after the killings in a deliberate attempt to incinerate the remains and any forensic evidence. Apprehension. Shortly after the murder of Jean Reener, Richard Cottingham was caught in May 1980 at a motel in New Jersey when staff heard the screams of a woman he was torturing. Now, while these three cases are his most infamous Times Square crimes, Richard Cottingham has since confessed to many more murders in the surrounding New York and New Jersey areas, with some estimates of his total victim count reaching upward to 100. And those are the Times Square killings committed by the Times Square Killer, the Times Square Ripper, Richard Cottingham. Well, coming up next here on The Case, find out how this devious and this despicable serial killer was apprehended and find out about his sentencing. He was actually apprehended and arrested in the middle of a violent crime, thanks to the victim's screams. Unfortunately, this victim was not murdered. She was saved. But coming up next, find out how Richard Cottingham was apprehended. But get ready to celebrate 12 years, 3 weeks from today and 3 weeks from tomorrow. 12 years on YouTube.
12 years splashing, 12 years strong. Aqua Alex, we sing along. Hey! Bubbles rise, new color flash like fireworks under glass. Tropical colors rush across the screen. Every tank you show feels like a dream. 12 years of Aqua Alex, we've been swimming right here with you. From the first little fish to a whole world of blue. New color, new fish, new stories. Every upload opens the door. Happy 12 on YouTube. Oh, Alex, here's to 12 years more.
All right. Richard Cottingham was apprehended in May 1980 after a survivor's screams alerted motel staff. Over several decades, he has been sentenced to multiple life terms totaling more than 200 years. Richard Cottingham will never see the light of day again, and thankfully so. The apprehension, May 22nd, 1980. Cottingham was caught red-handed at the Quality Inn in Hasbrook Heights, New Jersey. The incident: He had lured 18-year-old Leslie Ann Odell to a motel room where he had handcuffed and began torturing her. The rescue. Odell's screams were heard by a maid who alerted the front desk and called the police. The arrest. As Cottingham attempted to flee into the hallway with his torture kit, which included handcuffs, a switchblade, and leather gags, he was intercepted by arriving officers at gunpoint. Evidence. Subsequent searches of his car and a locked trophy room in his Lottie home uncovered jewelry and personal items belonging to previous victims. Between 1981 and 2022, Richard Cottingham underwent numerous trials and plea deals across New Jersey and New York. Initial convictions 1981 to 1984, New Jersey. Sentenced to 173 to 197 years for the murder of Valerie Street and the kidnapping assault of surviving victims. He received an additional 25 years to life for the 1977 murder of Marianne Carr. New York, sentenced to 75 years to life for three murders in Manhattan, including the two dismembered women found in Times Square. Recent cold case sentences 2021 to 2022. Bergen County 2021. He received two additional life sentences for the 1974 drowning murders of teens Mary Ann Pryor and Laureen Kelly. Nassau County 2022. He was sentenced to 25 years to life for the 1968 murder of Diane Cusick. Under a plea deal, he received immunity for four other Long Island murders he confessed to that very same day. Now, 79 years old, Richard Cottingham remains incarcerated at Southwood State Prison in New Jersey. Due to failing health, he is reportedly housed in a palliative care unit. Authorities continue to obtain confessions from him for cold cases dating back to 1963, and that is the sentencing of Richard Cottingham. He will never see the light of day again, and he will die in prison. Now, as a serial killer, what impact did Richard Cottingham leave on this world and on America? A negative impact. But here's the impact Cottingham did leave. Richard Cottingham's impact is defined by the decades of terror he caused, the lasting trauma he inflicted on suburban communities, and his recent role in solving some of the oldest cold cases in U.S. history through his deathbed confessions. Closure of decades-old cold cases. In his later years, Cottingham's willingness to provide information has had a significant impact on cold case investigations. Historical breakdowns. His confessions have officially solved some of the oldest active cases, such as the 1965 murder of Alice Eberhardt and the 1967 murder of Mary Ann Della Sala. Community as a tool. Immunity as a tool, rather. Immunity as a tool. Prosecutors have frequently used non prosecution agreements to trade formal charges for the truth, providing closure to families who have waited over 50 years for answers. Investigative persistence. The case highlighted the value of long term repertoire building by detectives like Robert Anzaletti, who spent decades interviewing Cottingham to elicit confessions that DNA alone cannot provide. Social and community impact. Loss of innocence. His early murders in New Jersey, the 1960s, transformed local perception of safety. Small towns like Midland Park previously considered safe, began locking doors and restricting children's free time for the first time. Intergenerational trauma. Families of victims have testified to irreparable harm, with many siblings and parents carrying the psychological burden of unsolved disappearances for their entire lives. Cultural awareness. His crimes were featured in high profile media, such as the Netflix series Crime Scene, the Times Square Killer, which brought renowned public attention to the systematic vulnerability of marginalized women and sex workers during the 1970s. The dual life profile. Richard Cottingham remains a primary example in criminology of a serial killer who successfully maintained a completely normal outward life as a suburban family man and white collar professional while committing horrific crimes. Control and manipulation. Criminologists and detectives have studied his behavior as a control freak who used confessions as a way to maintain power over the narrative and the police, even while incarcerated. And that is the impact that Richard Cottingham has had from all his murders. And our final topic tonight, theories on why Richard Cottingham confessed later on in life. Theories regarding Richard Cottingham's late life confessions suggest they are driven more by control, interpersonal relationships, and fragile health than genuine remorse. Having spent decades maintaining a dual life, Cottingham appears to use these revelations as his final means of exerting power over the narrative of his crimes. The retirement gift theory. The most prominent theory centers on Cottingham's nearly 20-year relationship with Detective Robert Angelotti. A final farewell. Angelotti describes the 2021 confessions as a retirement gift to him after decades of repertoire building. Cottingham himself stated he felt an obligation to Angelotti for his persistent efforts to get him to do the right thing. Respect and pride. Investigators believe Cottingham developed a strange relationship of respect for the detectives who treated him as a human, and often over games or shared meals like pizza. Psychologists and investigators, including Catherine Ramsland and Peter Vronsky, suggested that confessions allow Cottingham to remain the center of attention, maintaining dominance. By choosing when and to whom he gives information, he retains the only pockets of control left in his life as a prisoner. Negotiation tactics. He is described as the king of all deals, often treating confessions as a negotiation to see what he can gain, such as immunity or improved prison conditions. Cognitive remorse versus true remorse. Experts clarify that while Cottingham has expressed a desire to provide peace for victims' families, this is not fueled by emotional empathy. Intellectual awareness. He reportedly lacks typical emotional feelings of remorse, but experiences cognitive remorse, an intellectual understanding that he committed horrific acts and that he should feel bad. Embarrassment. Angelotti noted that some brutal murders, like those of teens Marion Pryor and Lorraine Kelly, seemed to haunt or embarrass him more than cause him genuine sorrow. And finally, declining health and legacy. As his health failed, the urgency of his mortality became a factor. Race against time. Following a near-death experience in 2024 and his move to palliative care, investigators increased their frequency of interviews, establishing a record. Some theories suggest he wants to solidify his place in criminal history, sometimes claiming responsibility for up to 100 murders to ensure his notoriety rivals that of other high-profile serial killers. And those are theories on why Richard Cottingham confessed later on in life. And ladies and gentlemen, that is this episode of On the Case with me, Detective Alex Cardinale. I hope you enjoyed learning about the Times Square Killer, the Times Square Ripper, and the Torso Killer, Richard Cottingham. There is a very interesting fact. Richard Cottingham worked at Blue Cross Blue Shield, and he worked with another serial killer by the name of Rodney Acala. And that's very interesting because on our next episode of On the Case with Detective Alex Cardinale, learn about Rodney Acala, the dating game killer. We're going to talk all about Rodney Acala, the dating game killer, on the next episode of On the Case. Until then, stay safe, everyone. If you see something, say something, and never be afraid to dial 911. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the show, smash that like button and subscribe for more crime videos. Thank you for watching this episode of the Alex Cardinale Entertainment. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did enjoy the show, please smash that like button and consider subscribing to my YouTube channel so you'll be notified when I upload a new video or I go live next. And also, share this video on social media so other people can be entertained from the Alex Cardinale Entertainment YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and have a great rest of your day, and I will see you on the next video.